Hold up. Everything is about to change.
First of all, the president has been very active throughout this process, but it's also his position that this is a thing that the Senate needs to work out. A lot of our friends in the Senate have said that it was just bad optics for Democrats to open the government before the No Kings rally, and that now there's a shot that this week things will come together and very quickly the moderate Democrats will move forward and get us an open government, at which point we could negotiate whatever policies they want to negotiate with regular order.
That's right, we could potentially see the US government back open by the end of this week, and that's why we saw a nice rally in the last 24 hours in the cryptocurrency market. Gold continued to pump and stocks also rallied. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down why this is important. The government reopening could be the bullish fuse to light the big catalyst that absolutely propels us into this Q4 big bull market. With that being said, make sure you smash the like button to a brand new all-time high. And if you enjoy this type of content and you've been dialed into this channel now for a while, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and let's get into it. So the clock is ticking on the US government being shut down, but this may all be coming to an end. And this sparked a rally not only in the gold market, but in the stock market, and more importantly for all of us, in the crypto market as well, with Bitcoin rallying back above 111,000 and seemingly holding up in that zone. Now, that doesn't mean that we're in the most bullish market ever, and it doesn't mean we're out of the water, but we still certainly have a long way to go. Fear and greed index still sitting around that 28, which sits us in fear. This is actually up though 6 points from our extreme fear that came in on Friday. This means sentiment is starting to slowly but surely turn a little bit more bullish. And in fact, if you stay dialed into what's going on crypto Twitter, even the most bearish of people took a little bit of a hit today in terms of turning more bullish. When you take a look at opportunity out there right now, though, the markets generally feel a little bit behind. Altcoins here are significantly in the red, with many of the key sectors such as layer ones, meme coins, as well as Sol, AI, DPIN, and everything else, all screaming absolute opportunity. For example, you can grab Jupe at a 55% discount from where it started at the beginning of this year. So the question then is, well, what is going to happen, and should we be more bullish or tread with an element of caution? Well, US investors right now are diving into stocks more than we've ever seen before. US households, including pension funds, insurance funds, and investor funds and equity allocations, have hit a record high of 60%. Everyone right now seems to be dialing into either the gold market or the stock market. You can even take a look at what's going on from the retail cash equities, and the fact is individual investors have been buying US stocks 23 out of the last 26 weeks. In fact, this is a record 24 straight weeks of net purchasing in equity options. Why is this important? Well, people are dialing into risk, and there is a big catalyst around the corner that many people now are looking forward to. And in fact, Jerome Powell will be speaking in 8 days on that FOMC decision. Now, pretty much 25 basis points is priced in, but we have a key indicator coming on Friday, which is the CPI data, which I talked about yesterday. But there is also now a debate that we could get a bigger rate cut. Now, the reality is that the Fed is actually talking today when it comes to the crypto conference. You've got such people there as Jackie Reese from Lead Bank, as well as many people from things like Firth Bank, Coinbase, head of AI and Stripe, managing director of Web3, James Thomas, as well as many, many other people that are all going to be discussing what is going on in the markets and stablecoin use cases, as well as AI and payments and bridging traditional finance with digital asset ecosystems. So the Fed's going to go in a full meeting when it talks about cryptocurrency, and then in a week's time, they're going to look to cut some rates. So why should we be bullish on rates? Well, in fact, when we take a look at some of the key open interest, these are basically where people think the Fed's going to move. This is now skyrocketing. People are now potentially even pricing in 50 basis points. To the open interest for secured overnight financial rates, basically call options with the trade of Fed interest rates falling to a 3.5% by year end, jumped to 926,000 contracts, the highest ever on record. That's right, the markets are definitely pricing in more aggressive rate cuts by the end of the year. I'm not necessarily thinking they're going to come in October, but that would open up the potential for a double rate cut in December. In fact, the SOFR call options have now tripled since July. This could coincide with a very dovish Jerome Powell, as we know the stock market and the labor market are slightly diverse. The fact is the labor market is slightly weakening while the stock market seems to be breaking new record highs. He cannot simply talk about quantitative tightening and has to ease off. This means that liquidity can flow back into the markets, companies can continue to expand, and we're even expecting the ISM data to come in at 52, which is historically an indicator that markets are in expansion, and this therefore could play out very bullish. Rec Capital here giving us a view in terms of historical demand area, and actually Bitcoin once again holding up its own. Bitcoin does need to reclaim the 21-day EMA, which then gives us some key support around 111,000 to continue this upside momentum. And well, the reality is that people are still buying. We saw outflows on ETFs, but Bitmine, as well as many others, coming in big, buying huge amounts of Ethereum and altcoins once again, like we talked about at the start of this stream, feeling like they're on sale. Bitmine acquired about 203,000 Ethereum and holding 2.7% of the entire Ethereum supply. So when you take a look at the macro level of things, yes, the market did take a bounce. And I know people are going to be telling you the dead cat bounce is in, we're still going to zero, and you are going to get fooled on this bull market trap. However, the data suggests something very different. And with 8 days to wait, we could see a very different market in a week's time. Think about it. Not 10 days ago, we were talking about all-time highs and Bitcoin heading to 150K. And now all of a sudden, everyone's telling us we're going to zero and we missed the bull market. Well, what does the next 8 days look like? A potential 50 basis points cut, as well as a dovish Jerome Powell. The market's kind of skyrocketing while everyone seems to want to take some risk, only means one thing. Well, Bitcoin, the crypto market, and many altcoins may still have the biggest move yet in Q4. So let me know what you think of all of that in the comments down below. As always, we're going to be covering everything here on the channel. If you want to become a channel member, link is in the description. That gives you access to our trade group where we have alpha calls, brand new trade alerts, and weekly setups in terms of what's happening in the market. And we absolutely nailed it this weekend. So definitely check that out. And as always, don't forget, hit the like and subscribe button for more, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.